Back to school videos are so dated. In 2020, it's all about back to work videos. I'm also hoping the NBA gets back to work because I miss my Raptors, y'all. Norman Powell was having such a great season. This is the best smelling channel on YouTube, everyone. I'm James from J-ROYL, and we talk about fragrances, all about colognes that make you smell better, which makes you feel better, which will make you look better. It's all about confidence, man. Confidence. Now, being on YouTube, I must be some sort of expert, right? I'm not. I just have a lot of fragrances, and I've had even more over the years. So hopefully you'll get some sort of value from these videos, whether it's just a new insight, opinions, entertainment. If any of that sounds great, then consider subscribing. And, you can like the video later on once you have found something you like about it. So as restrictions start to ease a little bit, more and more people are heading back to work. And speaking of work, I've been working on a second YouTube channel that you guys can check out if you want. Many of you know that I'm a painter by trade. I do residential house painting, so I made a channel all about that. I'll leave a link below to that channel if that sounds like something you'd be into and maybe you want more of this face on your screen. What makes a good work fragrance? Well, the rules have changed a little bit. Normally you'd wear something that's a bit quiet and just polite. Nobody more than 3 feet around you should be able to smell you at all. But with physical distancing in play, you can be a little more liberal with your fragrance usage. I've assembled 10 different fragrances that I want to share with you guys as recommendations to wear at work. The number 10 fragrance on this list that I want to recommend to you all is by Calvin Klein, CK2. Now, the reason I mention this one first is because it's a unisex fragrance. So in case there's women still watching, then this one could be good for you too. This is kind of a spring in the bottle type of fragrance where it smells very much like spring. It has a floral quality to it. It almost smells like wet pebbles. It just smells like you're kind of sitting next to a stream and all the aromas that would be surrounding that area are kind of in this bottle here. Performance is pretty good too. When this fragrance first came out, it was marketed to millennials. And I think that's because of the trend towards androgynous perfumery, where men and women, we can wear any fragrances we really want. We don't have to be limited to the broest of bro colognes and the most delicate and fun and floral female perfumes. And this kind of encapsulates that with its capsule-like bottle design. This is getting harder and harder to find, however, which is why I implore you to check out your gray market websites if you're interested and shop around because they're sold out on some and available on others. But regardless, it's still extremely cheap where you can find it. Pick it up before it's gone, man. I like the bottle too, it's pretty cool. At number 9, we have by Tower Perfumes, L'air du Desert Marocain, dudes. Gorgeous fragrance. Anyone that has smelt this will tell you it is unbeatable in the resinous, slightly smoky, woody territory of fragrances. This is only a work fragrance this year. And when I say that, I mean it's quite strong, but physical distancing means 6 feet, so you'll definitely be fine 6 feet away. In fact, they'll still be able to smell you 6 feet away, which is a plus. Because this smells fantastic. It's just a little too much if you apply a lot of it and then you're sitting next to someone. But guess what? You don't gotta worry about that for a little while, guys. As a fragrance reviewer, I guess you could call me, I've gravitated towards fragrances that make me feel something, that smell different than other things, that are maybe a little more complex and they develop a lot. I can show this to the more inexperienced noses out there and they'll still recognize that it smells nice. And not a lot of creative fragrances can do that. Some are just smoke bombs, incense bombs, like my boy Interlude Man by Amouage, which I love. But not a lot of regular folk do. It's unapologetically niche in its composition, but it has universal appeal. That's why I think it'd be good for work. Next up, we have another fragrance that is fairly strong, definitely on the stronger side. It's by Mancera, and we have Oud Blue Notes. Man, that name, Oud. It's oud, okay? This has oud in it. And even though it's called Blue Notes, people will describe it as being blue in nature. Maybe it's a little more like chlorine blue rather than like freshwater or seawater blue. It's not an aquatic fragrance per se. Mainly, you get fruits and woods in here, oud being the predominant woody note. Now, even though it's fruity and woody, I wouldn't call it an exclusive cold weather fragrance. I wear this in the summer quite a bit, and it has a little bit of leather to it too, so I wear it in the same sort of instances that I would wear Colonia leather or Colonia oud. Not super hot days, but mild enough that I'm not gonna offend people. Who are you gonna offend 6 feet away? No one. That's why this is a great opportunity to wear this fragrance. I think it's beautiful. It's a little bit underrated. It gets overshadowed by other Menseras out there, but this is the one that I've kept and I continue to wear quite a bit of. Next up, we have a staple, and it is Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, the more intensified, sweeter version of the original Allure Homme Sport. And I find this to be a great work fragrance because it's very easy to wear, and it lasts pretty darn long too, considering its composition. It still has fresh qualities to it. Don't think this is the winter version of the original. It's quite zesty as well, but it lingers with you, and it has that familiar smell that's comforting to me personally. From a value perspective, it's higher up there, only because Chanel fragrances are very rarely discounted. So for the people on a budget, there's always Versace Pour Homme, which is still on that aquatic side and a little more fresh than this one, but has that creamy sweetness that you find in here. If money's no object, then get this one, because overall, it smells better to me, and it lasts a bit longer as well. Not super unique, but if you like the DNA, this one, you can't go wrong. You can't. Just missing the top 5 is Valentino Uomo Intense. This is for the worker that's a little more debonair, a little more luxurious and posh. Maybe you like to wear a tux to work, even if you're working from home. This often gets compared and lumped into the Dior Homme line, which I've done as well. But lately I've been favoring this Intense over Dior Homme Intense because this one's a bit less intense. And I know that sounds strange. Why would you go with the weaker of the two? I don't necessarily think it's weaker per se. It's just a bit softer. It's a little more comforting rather than Dior Homme, which is kind of on a pedestal. That's how I sort of see it. The original Valentino Uomo was another one of my favorite fragrances for a while because of its hazelnut nature. It was really Nutella-like and chocolatey and sweet. This has that as well too, but it just incorporates more of the iris as well. So it makes it a little more formal, but not crazy overpowering. Even if you are at work in a client-controlled environment, you won't be too much of an issue. Just go a bit lighter on the trigger if there's people around you that are a little more sensitive. But I never see this talked as a work fragrance, and I think it could work at work. The top 5 on this list are all pretty awesome work fragrances, so I want to share them right away. Prada L'Homme Intense is number 5. It's the intense version of one of the quintessential office fragrances, according to fragrance collectors. The intense version still has that same fresh, airy quality of the original, but it also adds leather to make it a little more ballsy, a little more punch in the face, man. It's a more assertive fragrance that you may not necessarily get away with in very close-knit environments for long periods of time, but if you have a workspace that is a little more open-ended, or if you put it on in the morning and then walk into work a couple hours later, you won't have any problems. The leather incorporated in here does make it a little more masculine, because one of the big complaints of Iris is the fact that it may smell like lipstick or a makeup bag. Do all makeup bags smell the same? I don't know. One of my favorite Prada fragrances to wear, and one of my favorite Iris fragrances ever, Prada L'Homme Intense is worth your attention. My number 4 back to work fragrance is by Armani, Acqua Di Gio Essenza. Now, oftentimes on these types of lists, Essenza and Profumo, they're a bit of a toss-up. It's kind of a side grade going from one to the other, and it strictly just comes down to your personal preference. While Profumo has the patchouli and the incense, making it a bit darker and perhaps a little more prestigious and mature, Essenza takes the original, amps up the essential oils to make it an eau de parfum concentration, and adds a little bit of a spicy kick to it. I think this is the easier one to wear. It's a little fresher, so if the temperature does get a bit higher, or if the air conditioning breaks at work, you're not going to suffocate everyone with your stench. Personally, I find this one a bit harder to find now as well, so you gotta go in the gray market as best as you can and scope it out before it's gone. However, like 3/4 of the time that I go to a duty-free, it's there. You can get Essenza at a lot of duty-frees still at the time of this recording. Just good luck getting into an airport. If you're lucky enough to already have this fragrance, then you already know. If you can get this fragrance on the gray market or you found it on Facebook, I would encourage you to get it. It's just so easy to wear, so fresh, zesty, familiar too. It has that DNA that everyone likes, and it's a bit of a no-brainer. There you go. Number 3 is a niche fragrance, which means it's a company that just makes fragrances, and they do it very well. Acqua di Parma Ginepro di Sardegna, the juniper fragrance of the Blue Mediterranean line. Just an amazing, fresh, woody fragrance with some sweet, spicy aspects to it. And even though it has incredible longevity on my skin, the projection is always just appropriate. It has the appropriate amount of projection. That's the best way to put it. No one's ever gonna be like, oh man, cologne guy over here. They're just gonna be like, oh wow, Mr. Suave. Wow, what a nice man you are. Or woman, if you decide to wear it as well. While some of the other Blue Mediterranean lines suffer from performance because of their rather simple yet effective composition, this one has a lot of depth to it. And it has become my favorite of the line. It has dethroned Cedro di Taormina, which is huge news because I've used a lot of that fragrance. But I just keep going back to this one. A word on the street is this one may be phasing out, maybe being discontinued, but I don't know how reliable that information is. I've heard that rumor so many times, yet I keep still seeing it being sold everywhere, so just keep that in mind. But if it does get discontinued, really sad. You better hoard this stuff because it's amazing. And number 2 back to work fragrance is a J-ROYL staple. Arguably my signature scent. Hashtag Ultime, we have L'Homme Ultime by Yves Saint Laurent. If you know anything about cologne, you've seen this bottle design at least, but the liquid is usually yellow. Did my bottle go bad? Why is it all gray? L'Homme Ultime is a flanker of the original. So they took that nice, cute little gingery fragrance called L'Homme, amped up the ginger a bit, added some rose, increased the concentration, and gave you the best fragrance ever. For some reason, this just makes me so happy. And a lot of the Royal fam watching will agree. It feels good to be on the Ultime. I've always enjoyed the performance of this fragrance. I think it works best when it's a bit cooler outside or in an air-conditioned environment, because you just get those wafts of that beautiful, slightly floral quality that I think is just the right amount. It's not going into feminine territory. It's still quite masculine, but it's a man that's confident in himself. It's not for the guys out there that are just trying to force their masculinity on people. They just know who they are. They can still change a tire or boost a vehicle, but they also visit the art gallery twice a year. So it's a good compromise. But it would be unfair to put this at number 1 because honestly, this could be number 1 on all of my lists because of how much I love it. For everyone else that are looking for the ultimate back to work fragrance, this one's for men, okay? This is a masculine fragrance, not very unisex whatsoever. It is a fougere. And in that category, to my nose, it is the creme de la creme. It's a fragrance that was on my list of fragrances I really want to buy, and I did. I ended up getting it. It's from the house of Tom Ford, and it's called Beau Du Jour. This is the ultimate back-to-work fragrance to me because it contains all the quintessential manly fragrance notes. It's a modern fougere with lavender, patchouli, mint, rosemary. You even got some of that oak moss in here too. When I first tried this in Scotland, it was in one of the private blend bottles, but then it got re-released in this bottle. And to my nose, it's the same fragrance. Both times I couldn't stop smelling myself. I'm like, whew. Oh boy, golly gee, I smell great. And personally, I kind of enjoy this new presentation style. It's nice. It sort of goes well with my Grey Vetiver and my Tom Ford for Men bottles, and I like coordination, you know, so being part of the fougere category, there is a lot of other fragrances that are kind of similar to it in its composition. But if you want the best, if you want numero uno, both in this category of fragrances and this category on this list, Number 1, back to work. Beau Du Jour. Here's me wishing you all the best, going back to work. And if you want to check out my other work on YouTube, you can check it out right here. There's a link to the channel. We'll appreciate if you can check it out and subscribe. So if you're a painter yourself, or you're just looking to get some painting done, or you're just curious, it's a good channel for you. I do it all. You know me. See you on the next video, guys. See you later.